Welcome to The Ones Who Live, a TWD podcast with your hosts, Takira Lawrence, Jill Roby, Kirsten Acuna, and Sarah Beth Pollock. If you're wondering who I am, stop whatever you're doing and head over to Squawking Dead to listen to Side A of this episode. That being said, I'm Dave, and I'll be your narrator for Side B, the second half of the collaborative discussion between Squawking Dead and The Ones Who Live, a TWD podcast. We're taking on the fourth episode of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, titled What We. And without further ado, so I have to tell you guys a story. I was watching the episode on Sunday, I think it was. And I get to the part where Rick basically says they took Carl. And I got so emotional, I made a noise. I'm in this room here. Evelyn's in the other room with a wall separated with the door closed. And she goes, "Are you okay?" I don't answer because I'm too busy blubbering. She comes in. She goes, "Did you hear me? Are you okay?" I have headphones on. "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm fine." That's how emotional I got over that moment. It was just like the last episode. It's completing a circle. They started it in the last episode. And they completed it in this one. And when she pulled out the phone and did it exactly like you said with the eye bandage for all of us, probably mostly. But I said, no, he doesn't want to remember him that way. Bullshit. He wants to remember him, period. I couldn't handle it. It just hit me so hard.
That was rough.
This is definitely the episode where Andy should be nominated and win for leading actor in a limited drama series for an Emmy and a Golden Globe, not that Saturn bullshit.
Yeah, true.
Sorry. Just keeping it 100 and the numbers and the writing and everything backs it up. Everything tracks. So there's no reason for them to not at least be nominated. I don't even get emotional at fiction like that. And they took Carl. That broke me. And I've watched that scene a lot of times because I clearly like to hurt myself, I guess. I don't know.
Almost more the second time for me. Yet again, like the last episode. Saw it the second time. Hurt even more than the first time. You know it's coming.
And it goes back to the clips.
And the little boy just disappears. Like, what are you guys doing?
I couldn't. I know. It really hurt. It really, really
Put
hurt.
a scar on my heart.
I'm so glad that we're getting these connecting pieces. The mention of Jocelyn, I'm sure that's what you guys were just talking about. And then we also get the whole thing with Daryl. The fact that Daryl was also looking, because that was such a big part of his story. The stuff that was happening while Rick was gone. It's important, and it was important to us as viewers. And so I'm glad that they intertwined it. And it doesn't feel like just fan service. It furthers the story. Fan service at all.
We meet Rick as a father, as a dad. Most important person to him for most of the time he was on the show was Carl. His reasonings for being afraid and losing Carl all over again in his head, I wouldn't call that fan service. And I know a lot of people probably will do that.
I'm sure that'll be said. It went well with the story. It fit well within the parameters of what they're trying to tell. So it didn't feel schlocky or like off-putting in any way.
And Carl is his son. So why wouldn't he be mentioned? Just because he died, he's never mentioned again. I know that's something that they like to do on this show, but Carl was fairly important.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're going to come for me.
I was saying in Gone, the second episode, how Michonne could have brought up to Nat how Daryl had gone off and looked for Rick for too long as an example of knowing when to go. But isn't it interesting how they transplanted that thought that I had and put it in this episode to make more of an impact, to delay that gratification? And then explaining, I had to stop looking for you. I had to give birth to RJ. I had to take care of Judith. But one thing I want to hit even more on what you said, Bridget, in the last episode, you had said people's faces start to disappear. I don't want that to go unnoticed. You said it yourself, and that's what happened to Rick. Yeah. You don't have an iPhone, literally, to look at a picture of Carl. You don't have a rendering. Carl disappeared during the apocalypse. And like Judith said in season 9, I'm starting to forget what they look like, or I'm starting to forget what he looked like.
We're so blessed to live in a time period in which that isn't a reality for us because we have access to photos. 200 years ago, when photography was really just for the elite because those were the only people who could afford it or afford to have portraits painted of themselves because that wasn't something that you could have done. That's how it went. When I try to remember what my dad looked like, and he only passed 4 years ago, but when I try to think back to what he looked like just purely from memory, that's my father. Purely from memory, it starts to get foggy over time, but I have photography to go back to. I have that luxury. The story is set in a time in which they don't have that luxury. There's something really poetic and heartfelt and sad about that, and I know that it's often used as a device in literature. It's interesting that it's flipped because it's usually children who lose their parents will lose the memory of what their parents look like. In literature, that's usually what it is. So it's interesting that it's the opposite here. It's the parent. There's something really beautiful about it. I'm glad that we got to see the little Benjiro drawing of Carl. That's it. Now he gets to hold on to that.
Enjoy peace, Rick.
Well, until he gets home, because there's actual photos of him in Alexandria.
Oh yeah, the paintings, right?
No, he took a picture with.
Oh yeah,
that's
in the
right.
photo frame.
That's right, with the Polaroid.
Oh yeah, smart kid.
It's probably video somewhere, maybe.
I hope so. That'd be a nice surprise.
Maybe from the interviews that Deanna did.
Oh, maybe those are still around.
Hopefully, they took more videos after that.
In the AMC archives. Wink, wink. Give us some of that.
Family gatherings. That's what we would do. So
Michonne finally filled Rick in on what he's gained. RJ.
I think Rick did the filling.
Do you think at some point they'll have a conversation about who they've lost, or who Michonne is aware that they lost anyway?
I kind of hope not. I don't really enjoy that possibility.
Who did they lose by the time she left?
Jesus.
Well, Sadiq for one.
Was she around for that?
That was during Whisper.
Yeah. Let's start with the Pikes. Tara, Jesus. One of the last few memories was with Enid cutting off Aaron's arm. Wow, I keep thinking Ross. God damn it. I'm forgetting his face. Oh no.
Sadiq was really who popped into my head first, though.
Sadiq is, there you go.
Personally, I don't think so. I think she's probably more interested in hearing his story, and he's probably more interested in learning about his kids than
first things first.
The sad things like, oh, by the way, so these people died.
You know the guy that your son died for? He's dead. Like, we kind of want to see some of that, but he's going to find out. Do we need to see the actual
I don't think we need to find out about it either.
I just wonder if it would be a bigger driving force for him to get back home and protect who's still there.
And she can tell him about all the new people that they have.
Right. Post time jump. Oh, and then Bernie. We forgot. Oh, but he died in the first episode.
Bernie.
With his colorful shirt.
It said Bernie.
With his paisley shirt.
He's a real guy. He died in that. Well, he was undead.
He was
in
already
Stradivarius.
Dead.
Excuse me. Well, we didn't know. You
know what? She tells him what happened to Scott, and then we finally get to know.
Scott?
Where's he
Where's
been,
Scott?
Who is Scott? Which Scott?
Are you for real?
It's Soneqa's husband.
Are you for real right now?
Kenrick Green? That's how I remember him. Kenrick Green. It's Kenrick Green. Come on. What did happen to him? Anyway, sorry. Listen, there's so many names on this show. And Rachel has
Barbara.
a whole Rolodex of, oh God, shut the hell up. Where's Barbara? Where's that ginger? Speaking of something that has been racking our brains, unfortunately, because it's such a dumb conversation, we got a little bit closer to figuring out the timeline.
Oh, yeah.
By way of a couple of indicators. One was Michonne being 7 months pregnant when the episode Scars happens. Basically, we may be just about 11, maybe plus years into the apocalypse based on that information alone. He's almost 8. Takes 9 months usually for a child to be born. And this is 7 months after Rick was helicoptered away.
Okay.
It gives you a sense of when he left the show. You could say maximum when he was airlifted off the show was 3 years in. It's fair. It's on the middle side of the what would be 3+, or the middle of the low side, which would be 2.5 years.
So you're saying this kind of lines up with the Commonwealth?
Maybe just about. No. There was a year between the first appearance of the Whispers and then the Whisper War. Or there's an encounter, they go away after the Pikes, a season changes, they come back, Rosita has a baby, so there's another year. So that's when the Whisper-ish, whispery things happen, the actual ones. Basically, the Silence of the Whispers saga. Either way, whatever has been happening on the home front is irrelevant. As far as locking down numbers, we're about 11 years in from the fall, essentially. And you know what? Better than Judith, RJ is so much a better lock on the timeline now because of these hard numbers. He's almost 8.
Yeah.
And that's way better than what we've been working with. Talking about using kids as your yardstick. I think we should all be happy about that because after all these years, looking at either Judith, because babies from birth, it's a little easier, but we didn't get to see RJ being born. But babies are a really great indicator of time passing. That's all they're good for. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
JK on this show. It's just a long running joke. Oh, don't you go saying what to me? We should eat kids in the apocalypse.
That wasn't me.
Yeah. I'll throw you under. Not you. I thought it was
like,
Rachel. I heard go.
No,
what?
I said what?
Oh, I wasn't looking at the right person.
Well, in terms of kids and what they're good for, Judah served a lot of purposes instead of just telling time. She helped break down Michonne's emotional walls all the way back at the prison. That broke a wall that Michonne didn't know she still had up. After the fall of the prison, when Rick and Carl thought she was dead, they kind of had this thing in common. Rick experienced that death as if it was genuine. She wasn't dead, but he believed she was dead, like losing his child in that horrible, she got eaten kind of way. That's what happened to Andre, right? So it's a lot of connecting threads there.
You just brought up something that I'd actually written down about this episode. It's something that Rick says that's very palpable, along with taking away Carl from me and then his face disappearing. There was something about what he said. What you said reminds me something about what Morgan said in season 8 when Henry goes missing. He doesn't go out and search for him like Carol did because he was afraid to find him dead. It would be better off in his mind that he doesn't know and not see his undead corpse around because he wouldn't be able to handle it. But what he basically says to Michonne is, it was easier for me to just go along knowing that you're possibly still alive and kicking, because the thought of me having to confront the reality of this world, it's too much for him to handle and he'd have to die all over again. He couldn't be able to handle it. I can go on not really knowing the actual truth about what's happening back home. Just knowing that you're out there, a force to be reckoned with to begin with, but knowing that death comes for us all, or this Walking Dead universe is awful.
Well, do you think maybe part of the reason Rick was resistant to going back also was he lost Carl, even though he was there? If he doesn't go home, then in his head always RJ and Judith are alive. If Schrodinger's RJ.
Yeah, no, that's what Bridget said in the last episode. It's Michonne's Schrodinger's Michonne.
Miss Schrodinger's.
It's Schrodinger's Michonne.
If he were to go back home and CRM or whoever showed up and then took them out and he had to see that, he wouldn't survive that. He was able to shut down part of his brain before and he could just believe they were okay. But if he had to see that they're not okay, he wouldn't come back from that. And I get that.
He already learned how to die. I don't think he could go on living with that.
Yeah, not knowing for sure that harm had come to them. No, absolutely not.
I love how he phrased that too. I learned how to die. I don't think I could learn how to die again.
He's the Walking Dead. Yeah.
Again, they said it without saying it. We are. But I like the way Thorne said it. They're not gone, we're gone. That stuck with me. And I proceeded to pound my chest every single time I said it too, which I had to edit a little bit because it was too loud. Is your time up with us?
Yeah, I was
like by 50 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for staying.
Yeah, by a long shot. Can't wait to see what they do in 5 and 6. I just assume it's going to be better than the last, and I think they should sweep the awards for episode 4 specifically. Also episode 1. Honestly, Andy's just the best I've ever seen him, in my personal opinion. Rick and Michonne's love cannot be denied.
I'll allow it.
No objections, Your Honor.
Yeah, I do not object.
Judge Hawthorne?
I don't object.
Well, I just want to say thank you for showing up. Throwing goddamn nuggets from the old show to reinforce this show just tickled me. I'm so happy that we got to finally do something together, and I hope we do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
It was nice meeting you, Jill.
Nice
Very
meeting you,
nice meeting
too.
you.
Beautiful. What a treat. It was great. Okay.
So I had another thought.
Before you continue, what did you think about the 11-ish years? Does that feel right?
I feel in my gut we're closer to 12. It's such a minor difference. But while we were watching this episode, realizing that Rick has been with CRM for 6 years across the board.
At least from the start, yeah.
At least.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
He has been with CRM the longest. Longer than any of our characters, longer than his children, longer than Michonne throughout this entire apocalypse. So I can see how, I don't want to say easy. Easy is not the right word, but I can see why he is so conditioned and why he sides with them, why he's so
Stockholm syndrome,
loyal.
basically.
Yeah.
She says it. When the jail leaves the door open, you don't stay in the jail when they're letting you go.
Really? Ask Morgan. He did.
That guy needed a jail.
He needed a timeout.
Yeah. Well, so did Rick.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's totally 100% back to himself yet, but I think he is now aware of how disconnected he's been. Michonne really threw the mirror up in front of his face, I think. And I think these next 2 episodes, we're going to see him getting back to who we know as Rick Grimes.
Well, that's what I loved about the juxtaposition of the end of the episode to the beginning. There's all this tension at the beginning, and they're arguing, and there's all these one-liner quips against each other and stuff. And Commando was my favorite, by the way. It was so good. And then
Rachel and I were going back and forth about that yesterday.
At the end, you can even tell in the choreography that they chose for the fight scenes as they're leaving the building. It's
right
unified.
End,
Everything that they're doing is like together.
It's like they're riding a bicycle and they just fall right back into how you never forget your body. It's muscle memory. They're going right back to what they used to do.
Do you remember the scene before they get to the prison? The time jump in which we find out Lori's pregnant, and then we get that time jump where she's really pregnant, and it's like the episode that they find the prison. They're so used to being out in the world. They knock on the door, make sure no one's in there, and then they file in a specific way. And then as soon as someone sees a walker, they're like, oh, get up and go. And then they all go. And it's really uniform, and everything is really finely tuned, and they've been able to craft the way that works best for them and what keeps them safe. It's the same thing that we're seeing. It's that finely tuned, this is what keeps us safe. We know what movement the other one is going to make, so we can go for the other walker. So they're back in sync.
Dance partners.
Yes. And then, so we get that choreography, which was beautiful. And I was so excited and so happy to see it. And then we get levity in the end of the episode. All of a sudden, the colors are brighter. They're outside. This brightly colored car that they get into.
Ish.
Yellow.
As bright as it's going to get.
Got zombie dust all over it. But we get this juxtaposition of like this happy. And then all of a sudden, this song comes in.
I have the song lyrics and the song.
I lose it every time that song comes on because it's so amazing.
At the end, which one though?
It's a beautiful song and it's perfect.
The one at the end.
Yes.
Oh, so Let Me by Somi, 2017?
No, I was talking about the...
Or is it Asibe Happy?
Asibe Happy.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
what
great.
I was talking about. Because that one's like
both African artists too.
Yes.
So just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very upbeat and happy, but you get that. And then they're leaving. She finally got him to agree. You could end this season here and I'd be like,
again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could end the series here.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah,
Again.
Great. Love it. Thank
like
you.
the only episode you couldn't end that on was maybe 3 because the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Right.
But man, every single, what does that mean? I've never experienced a show where you could have ended the series. I wouldn't need to see any more after that point. They ride off into the sunset. I'm fine. I honestly have never felt that watching any other show. These little vignettes that make so much sense.
They could have ended the first season of Westworld where they ended it, and it would have been, I mean, in a storytelling sense. I like season 2, but what I'm saying is the way they ended season 1 was they could have just left it right there. They didn't have to come back. It was perfect.
Isn't there something to be said about that?
There's something beautiful in the writing and the way that this story was crafted. Yeah, do I want to see more? Of course I want to see more. But if you ended it here, I wouldn't be upset because at least I would know that they were together.
Yeah. And you know what? This episode wasn't extraordinarily long, too. It felt long. It felt drawn out. It felt painful in some spots to watch. And yet they gave you enough funny, gave you enough payoff in between the fights, even though it was a bottle episode.
See,
you'd think that this episode was over an hour.
This is good writing. You know, I'm so anti-bottle episode and so over the anthology. I got so mad about the bottle episodes.
Be more specific. You are more anti-bottle episodes or anthology style episodes from Fear.
Maybe it was just Fear. I don't know.
Maybe it was just Fear.
Because, well, it bothered me in that and bothered me in 10C.
Oh.
Anyway, I didn't love
So
10C.
COVID bothers you.
Yes. In so many ways.
I'm not a fan of the bottle episode either.
I'm not
either.
You
but
weren't.
This,
This
was so well done and so well written that I didn't even think of it as a bottle episode. I just thought
you felt movement
because it
basically
furthered the story. It furthered the overall arc of the story. That's what you're looking for. I'm looking for story arc development. I'm not looking for you to just piddle around on a side quest.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I think writers are inherently cognizant of the bottle episode and how it has to move the story forward. It has to develop the characters too, or else don't do it.
Well, exactly. No, this is a great example.
Or at least
of
bookend it with a bigger ensemble.
Please,
or something
anybody,
like
if you're going to write a bottle episode, please look at this episode and hold this as the standard to which you should be trying to achieve.
Thank you, Danai Guerrera.
Well, for the writing, yes.
Yes.
It's important to thank you, Takira. It's important to remember that Denai wrote this, just soup to nuts, wrote, showrunned the whole episode. So this is her creation. And honestly, this is one of my favorite episodes. The most favorite episode. I loved the first episode. I loved the insane, risky payoffs that they introduced in that episode. I want to also say, I don't know if you guys noticed this, and I was going to bring this up in the last few episodes, but there were moments in every episode thus far, the first 4, where it felt like they could have ended it before the actual end. Did you get that sense when watching these episodes? There was like an end or like a fade to black, and it's like, well, they could end it here, but then they kept going.
Yeah, there were some moments like that.
Especially the second episode.
Akila said it. She said, is the episode over? And then it came back on. There's
that feeling like it ends, and yet it keeps going. And then it's like, oh, thank you for keeping going, just continuing, because you've given us so much more. Do you want to go through the songs before we have to not do anything else? Because they're very cool. First of all, very upbeat, like you said, happy. Songs are good. Let me go through the first 2 before I go back to the beginning of the episode with the other song. Asibe Happy is from DJ Maforisa. Ami Faku KBZA. No, and I think I missed a vowel somewhere. Maybe I wrote down the lyrics. Okay. Yes, I got the translation. It's literally, we are happy, we are in love. They have tried to separate us, they failed. Our ancestors agree we are a fit. So like destined from the stars stuff. The two of us, let us be happy together. Be happy. The hook is, let's be happy, my person. Let's be happy together. Let's be happy, my person. Let's be happy together. The music pairs very nicely with the simple, just we're meant to be together. You are my person. We're meant to be together. Now, wait, the Let Me by Somi, the lyrics are just let me look back into my own heart.
Is that the one that plays during the credits?
For the credits, yes, exactly. Let me hold myself with my own hand. Let me tell my secrets to myself. Let me kneel and pray for my own grace. Let me hold on. Let my lips be the ones to taste the truth. Let it be myself to hear my blues. Let me quiver naked, dark, and alone. Let my mirrors be close like skin and bone and heart. Let me hold on, let me. That one, I should have gotten the meaning for. That was the last song the lyrics I wrote down. It's a little harder to figure out what's being said here, because she's basically saying, let me stand on my own and hold myself with my own hand. Let me stand on my own 2 feet. Let me tell secrets to myself. Let me kneel and pray for my own grace. I'm not entirely sure what that means.
Isn't that just, I'm not going to let them decide for me what my life is?
Okay. Anyone else who tries to tell me otherwise.
I would assume that's what it is. Like, I'm taking control over this situation again. They're not going to tell me who to be. I'm not Dana Bethune anymore.
Oh, you fished it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The arbiter in the house of God. Let no man be my judge in the house of God. I only answer to one master. And in this case, it's myself, but it's nice to play with. Ooh. Okay, let's go back to the beginning though. Because the beginning is more of a Rick thing. So first of all, the song that's playing is playing in the apartment. It's confirmed, actually. It zooms in on the radio, but it zooms out to give you a sense of geography about the lonely apartment. But we're hearing it in the helicopter because that's where they're heading. It's 1973. It's not that old.
It's not that old.
It's Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around
the Old Oak Tree
by
Tony, Orlando, and Dawn.
Yeah. So the song is from the perspective of a man returning home after 3 years in prison and looking anxiously for an agreed upon sign that the woman he loves would welcome his return. It's beautiful imagery for what Rick is going through right now. He's been away for so long. Is he gonna be? He's like skittish. Maybe I shouldn't come home. I don't know if she wants me anymore. All the things that she says in this episode about, do you even love me anymore? And he goes, always. But the same is in reverse. Maybe he feels like, I'm gone. I can't come back from this. There's no me left to love. And the ribbon that they're talking about is obviously the yellow ribbon for the people coming home, the veterans coming home from war. Also, that's the yellow ribbon usually typically associated with
that was them. What I always thought the song was about someone coming home from war.
Yeah, I picked up a link of this particular reference from history.com. This day in history, Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree tops the U.S. pop charts and creates a cultural phenomenon based on the idea of people coming home from war.
Oh, so wait, the song triggered that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically.
Okay, so not the other way around. Okay. I didn't know that.
Or re-triggered that, or I'll link to the article in the blog. It does reference, it's more focused on the veterans part than it is technically about the song part, but it has roots in that phenomenon to let people know that it's okay to come home, essentially. They would tie ribbons in the lampposts and the trees and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, they tied the yellow ribbons to their hair so that other men don't try to hit on them because they're off in war. They're taken. So even if they were like in a boyfriend girlfriend situation, I'm taken.
We're going
I'm promised.
steady.
We're going, yeah, exactly. Oh, one more tiny little factoid. Matthew Negretti is consulting producer on the show. And for those of you who may or may not know, Matthew Negretti was a producer on The Walking Dead, but also was executive producer and showrunner of
Tales. I mean, World Beyond.
World Beyond.
I was like, that's not quite right.
No, World Beyond.
He did,
like, wait, what?
He did direct some of the episodes.
He did some of the episodes.
Yeah. Walking Dead, World Beyond. Tapped directly from The Walking Dead. He exited The Walking Dead and went straight onto Walking Dead, World Beyond. And then the pandemic hit, et cetera, et cetera.
I just wanted to say, me and Richie would have totally been making out in that broke ass, about to fall to the floor elevator.
Yes, thank you. Finally, somebody speaking up. God, hey, Jill.
I'm like, it's been a billion years since we've seen each other. We have a kid that he doesn't know about. I've risked my life and lost a lot of time looking for him. I actually found him. We in this crazy ass building, and now I finally got him to his senses. We are making out in the elevator.
Thank you.
Wasn't that sequence almost kind of a play on Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Oh, I was thinking Mission Impossible. Just like the holes, just how smoothly they were. Like you said, the choreography
That is a Mr.
of
and Mrs. Smith thing, yeah.
But yeah,
it was mall rats.
It's not a schooner. Because the escalator.
It's not a scooter.
That was romantic, right? Passionate, yeah.
Going down the tubes. Telling you. Okay, my favorite line on the show was Rick yelling at Michonne, "Hug the wall, damn it." So I know that. Just a little bickering husband and wife situation going on here. But it just goes hand in hand, obviously, with the commando thing.
With the commando thing.
Without the commando thing, it just seems like it's out of nowhere.
So good.
You should know better. Well, then the chandelier almost falls on top of him. So hug the wall yourself.
That was some Phantom of the Opera stuff right there. The chandelier falling on.
By the way, Kira, what makes me look worse than Rick and Michonne obviously not seeing each other in several years, making out in the elevator, is that I'll probably do that after a few hours, not a few years. Let's play this game in the elevator again. Really,
same.
Dave?
Yeah, no, same.
Yeah,
that's why I'm like, I know we would have been making out in the elevator, because if it was now,
I don't have an aversion to making out in the elevator. It's making out in the elevator when it's critically failing and you just need to get down and get out. You know what I mean?
All the more reason.
You only have a minute.
Not wasn't going to make it move faster.
I mean, they're already in it, so might as well utilize the time they got.
They didn't need to control it. They just needed to hit the button and then make out until it landed.
And then the House of God, it's all in God's hands now.
You miss your stop, you miss your floor, and then you're stuck in the basement or something.
Yeah. Okay. We make out some more. Thank you. Good night. You know how you were noticing the score throughout, I think it was the second episode, the kind of frontier-ish sort of soundtrack?
Yeah.
So this episode was almost highlighted by the fact that there wasn't any music until this flourish at the end of a sentence. You get to the end of the sentence and then there's this musical phrase, the occasional hopeful phrase that I keep hearing throughout these episodes. Some of you are not going to know what I'm talking about, but when you use a delay pedal on your guitar, you can hit a few strings and it sort of does not like an echo, but it's like you're hitting one note and it's three notes. So that particular phrase, and then there's like this smooth closer at the end. You're going to hear it. Maybe I'll play it in the edit when I release it, but I do want people to understand it's just such a stirring, almost like a goosebump sort of thing once this happens.
I'm not going to lie to you, Dave. I didn't even notice it at all. That's why I brought that up in episode 2, because I'll notice the songs when they have lyrics, because that's important to me. But score music, a lot of the time, unless it's very impactful, I don't even really notice it unless I'm.
So you're saying you didn't notice it at all this episode?
I didn't. But episode 2, I noticed it immediately, and that was such a big deal that I noticed the score immediately. Like,
so am I the only one here?
You're that guy.
I'm the only
You're that
one.
guy, Dave.
Oh no, I love the score for this show.
The musical score, yes, but music with lyrics has played a role in their relationship before, all the way back to The Next World, More Than a Feeling. is playing. And that opening sequence when you see that he's not putting on his wedding band anymore, and Joe's walking around that thin road, just moisturizing away. He kind of sets it up.
Oh, where was I? I don't remember where I was. Anyway.
She wasn't moisturizing, she was flirting.
Do y'all know that Jill is the living Roshone?
Just embodied, it's in her body.
No, that's I created the Facebook page.
Oh, okay. Not a Facebook page. Well, now I'm going to link to it.
I meant both. I meant that she created the page, but she also is the living Roshone.
Oh, I knew that's what she meant.
I was like, oh, okay.
Facts.
Nah, he got blown off on a bridge. He's never returned. So,
the Roshone Bible. The standalone Roshone?
Yes, she could be Roshone all by herself.
Right.
No,
it's like the song at the end.
That's not. I don't think it quite works that way. That math is not mathing.
You know what? You got to do what you got to do. I don't know.
What? This got so weird.
You know
yeah,
what I meant.
know.
Okay.
I know.
Hey, come on. The swapping of seats and making out while they're swapping the seats.
That I did. I did.
Come on.
That one I was like, yeah. I don't love it because I don't love PDA. I don't know why, but it makes me feel socially uncomfortable.
But
that part I was like, all right, I get it.
Acceptable.
If it wasn't a bunch of walkers on the street, they would have made it right there. Honestly, that was a sense of urgency. Like, oh no, not right now. The building's falling.
I guess we better go.
They are now
okay,
in that honeymoon phase of their relationship. They realize how they feel about each other. They realize they both want the same thing. They're happy that they have each other back. This is the Walker honeymoon, guys.
Just give them maybe 2 to 5 miles of distance, and they're pulling over. Guaranteed.
Okay, now I might have an objection. Get home to your family. Anyway, who cares? It's fine. I don't care. I'm just happy to be in the back seat. Okay, I realized what I was about to say. Along for the.
I'm happy to be in the back seat, just creeping.
I was going to say along for the ride, but along for the ride would have sufficed. But you had to say back seat, like the ethanol. That close.
Well, that's also suggestive, actually.
Oh, do tell. Was it because it's denatured? Denatured alcohol?
What ride are you going on?
I'm here for all of it.
In the back of a Volkswagen.
Trying to holler at me.
I
but
got
still,
that. I got that.
Another Mallrats reference.
Another
for
Mallrats,
you.
yep.
So we were talking about the thin walkers earlier, and then I cut you guys off. Doesn't that idea that crops fail, we've seen that as early as season 9 with the Saviors and their crops failing. Alexandria is starving by season 11, essentially. 10C, 11. Commonwealth comes in and solves some of those problems, essentially, but the greater problem is we've seen wildlife migratory patterns in animals, birds, etc. change. And we've also seen crops change. But maybe the show is trying to tell us, along with this tipping point that they've projected with Omaha and why they had to destroy it, and then Campus Colony 2, which just breaks my brain. My greater question is, does this world also include a bigger threat that affects everyone, just like the Walkers did at the end of season 8? Oh, they're the threat, the Walkers. When he spares Negan.
Well, these are just real life problems from before the conveniences of modern times.
Well, I was just thinking something even bigger than that. Does this dead world include the possibility that crops are going to fail? And they're not going to be as easy to plow or easy to grow, or there's something in the soil where there's not enough nutrients, essentially, even without all the people and all the dead.
Well, they're also being repeatedly trampled by walkers that are going in these patterns around. How can anything really grow if the walkers are just going to trample all over them every 3 months or however long the cycle takes to reset?
Because of their migratory patterns. That's another issue. So I guess the greater question then is, the show often tells us that, let's go back to The Walking Dead. The big lesson that we learned from The Walking Dead is we are The Walking Dead for as long as we need to be to survive, right? But I think the show moved on quickly from that to The Walking Dead allows you to be the person that you were meant to be. Do we all agree with that? Okay. So just like that premise, because people often confuse the show, or I don't know, and I don't blame them either. Bridget, you've often brought up, I watch The Walking Dead because my life sucks. Sorry, like normal life sucks by comparison.
Yeah.
The opportunity to escape that normality.
It's If only I could get back to a time in which things were simpler, then none of this other stuff would be so burdensome. I wouldn't be
Right.
worried about having enough money or a nice car, or I can't afford a house because the housing market sucks, or none of that would matter anymore. So there's something appealing about that. I mean, I'm not just like out here like my life sucks, because I don't think that. I have a great life, but that's the appeal.
Why I like watching Little House on the Prairie.
Which we completely cut out of that episode, by the way. So, yeah, we started talking about shirtless Michael Landon, and it went off the rails. That's the entry point, right? That's what hooks people in. But you come here for the survivalism, but you end up realizing, oh, it's more than just that. You can be the person you were meant to be. But The Walking Dead also moves on. It was about survival. We are the Walking Dead. No. Michonne puts her sword down and says, survival isn't enough. Let's find a reason to thrive. Let's look beyond survival. We can do better than that. Eventually, I want to live in a world where one day I don't have to pick up the sword again. So, okay, there's that thing. We've already encountered I have to become the monster to kill the monsters. We meet people out on the road that are horrible, and we have to do horrible things to them so that they don't come back for us. But then we also reach the point where we get to Negan, and then we have to decide, okay, how long can we keep being the monster to get the monster? Because we did that at the satellite station, and that might not have been the best decision. Okay, so we figured out we have to punish at least the head and keep them alive so that the others will fall in line. Okay, now we move on from that point. There's the greater question, I'm trying to phrase this just right, of the CRM. And normally you would see what the CRM is trying to do from a survivalist perspective, like pure utilitarianism. If they see a problem, let's say with crops or with scarcity, and they decide that, okay, it's destroying one colony or settlement so that a greater amount of future people can be born into this world and have a better chance at a future. But I see the idea of Michonne going for Rick or trying to bring Rick back home as an allegory for what is a world worth if we have to murder a bunch of innocent people in order for our species to persist. There's a little bit of a tension in seeing the bigger picture that we have now. And what does it to mean to live in this world if we have to kill too many people in order to live, in order to survive?
It's not like they're trying to repopulate the world. They want to keep it contained at the 10,000 or whatever number they've determined.
Or the 200,000.
Is the appropriate number.
Well, I wonder too, because they have like a 500-year plan, they said? Mm-hmm. But their whole idea is to repopulate eventually under their terms, being the last light to control this repopulation or resettlement, etc. of the planet, maybe.
Yeah, but they just want people that'll follow orders. They don't want anything else.
Well, that aside, yeah. And I don't know, because the military portion of the CRM was only supposed to be in charge for the first 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then the CR was supposed to actually take over, the Civic Republic themselves. Yes. My question is there going to be tension, or are we going to see possibly, even if they touch on it a little bit, the pure utilitarian vision of maybe having to kill a bunch of people in order to save the world? Michonne sort of says this. When people try to go save the world on their own terms, it often turns out bad for them. It's Ramona the Pest. She has great intentions, but it gets her into trouble. They often go awry. Well, that's the CRM. You could see the CRM like that. And the tension between that and coming home and being an individual, living on your own terms, growing your own food, but the possibility that you and your generations may die down the line. Because if you don't have that big 10-year, 500-year plan, what hope is there in humanity?
That's idiotic.
I see that there's but there's a tension there. But that's not purely idiotic. It's a concern.
This is what I don't understand. Like, why do they care if there's people out there who can survive on their own? They can survive on their own. Great. They care because it's a threat to them having control. So this isn't about repopulation. This is about repopulation under our control only, which is some big brother government crap that I don't really want to talk about because it's going to make me angry.
Well, see, that's the thing. I like the tension. I don't need the answer. I just like these two bigger themes that are now coming to the Walking Dead universe.
Viva la Revolution, dude. Like, I want to see like people in the Civic Republic like, bro, you said 10 years and it has been more than that.
It is 500.
You said 10. And when I was younger, my friend used to have these huge house parties and his mom would come home really drunk from the bar. She didn't care that everybody was drinking at these house parties at her house. Anyway, she would always come home super drunk. And there was one year that it was Halloween. She was dressed as a chicken. And the thing that she used to yell every time she came home when everybody was wasted, all these teens are wasted in her house, was, Kyle, you said 10. you said 10. So when I just said 10, that really reminded me of her in the chicken costume. Like the chicken thing's like going crazy on her head. And she's like,
so it was a Halloween party.
Yeah.
And the CRM are all dressed up in chicken costumes going to the military. You said 10. Like, and there's signs. You said 10. You said 10.
Yeah. No, like I would love, you know what? That could be its own spinoff and I'd watch it.
You said 10 is the new spinoff. The Walking Dead. You said 10.
Why are there 20 drunk kids in my yard right now?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the post. That's the key art.
Mm-hmm.
And then right out front is Kyle's mom. Is that his name? Sorry. Yeah, Kyle's mom is the protagonist of the story.
Her name's
actually, she might be the villain.
Wendy. I love her.
Not important.
It's important.
Just the chicken costume. There's an image that I have.
It's an image.
But listen, we've seen versions of this, right? The Commonwealth, how they run. Alexandria, how they run. It's almost the exact opposite, night and day. The CRM, all these other setups. Even the Hilltop had its own formula. But these were limited settlements where they did things their own way. They had ideas about how they wanted to grow the future. But like I said in a previous episode, maybe the CRM is blowing smoke up over everybody's asses. Maybe they don't have the numbers down the way they think they do, even though they say they've run it a million times over and the answers come out the same. Assuming it's true, that's concerning. There's a lot of people that go out there knowing that there's a chance that they have a future. And so hearing that you don't, unless you follow a particular plan for whatever reason, I don't know the reason, I'm just hearing things. Bees will shut down. The bees, not the A's, not the anus.
I thought you were talking about actual bees.
Yeah, no, the bees. The bees and the A's.
That really is a current problem is the lack of bees, but I don't think it's in the same context.
Inherently. Maybe that's how the zombie apocalypse started. No bees.
Well, to be fair, other cross-pollinators came in to step it up. That's why I was introduced to the hummingbird moth, which is a terrifying creature that I absolutely hate, but they are cross-pollinators, so
are the zombies, right? They have the pollen on them.
Yeah, they're cross-pollinators. You don't worry about it. Cross-pollinating.
Anyway, so whatever it is, this tipping point that they speak of, I'm just saying the tension there might be, you know, it's not worth living in a world. Let humanity die if I can't live the way I want to live. There's that tension as well. What is life worth living if I can't live it freely, essentially? Because isn't that what the Walking Dead universe was supposed to be, what you were meant to be? Rather than following somebody's 500-year plan to repopulate the earth. What do I care? I'm not going to be here. This world is still dead. There's no cure. Project Votus was a bust. I just think there's some tension there. And I'm glad that you fought back. Because otherwise,
I'm like, bro,
this would have been dead air.
We went so far off. Like, let's just reel it back in.
I guess all I'm saying really is that The Walking Dead, from its inception until now, has evolved. And these themes have evolved. Sure. It's not about survival. It's about thriving. It's about...
Well, yeah, of course.
I think this is one of those themes that's being introduced.
That would be human nature. It's not that you want to get back to where you were. It's just that if everything shut down suddenly, even for me, who's someone who's like, I wish it just all would, because screw it. Even for me, okay, would I miss air conditioning? Yes, dude. For sure.
Ice cream? 100%.
Not really. My digestive system would probably be thankful if
Hot
I didn't.
showers.
You still want it,
I didn't
though.
have it. Hot showers, yeah, exactly.
Showers.
Hot showers. Oh, I can go inside and avoid mosquitoes.
Sounds great.
You know what I mean? So even me, someone who's like, screw this, end it. It's
shut it down. Shut it down.
The whole thing down. It's fine. Just start over. Even I would be trying to get back to some semblance of comfort.
Right. Yeah. You couldn't help yourself. The part of you will still try to want to achieve more, essentially.
Yeah, well,
you want to do better.
That's our drive
for you or
humans.
For your kids.
When we don't
right?
have that, we struggle immensely. I think you can see when you don't have something to work towards and you can't learn to be content in what you do have. That's how we get to where we're at now.
Well, it's a balancing act, right? Because humanity cannot help itself, essentially. We're almost evolutionarily compelled towards some sort of prestige or mastering a talent at the very least, or trying to achieve something more, especially in a world of scarcity. We innovate our way out of basic problems.
Sure, but that's not an everybody thing. I've recently tried hiring people, and I'm going to tell you, it's just not. They don't even show up.
Like, listen, I have an answer for that. But that's too funny.
So no.
I always say that when I took my first management job, nobody ever told me that 99% of my problems was going to be my employees. People that work for you are the worst.
But to put a cap on it, we don't live in a world of scarcity. So the desire to achieve, to innovate.
We live in a time of surplus and overconsumption, Dave.
Well, where needs are being met largely. Let's be fair.
Beyond met for a lot of people.
And conveniences are now essentially like cell phones, etc.
Yeah.
Showers, working refrigerators.
I mean, take a look at our world versus any third world country, and people here are entitled to those things.
And without them, it's like it's a status issue. Anyway.
We're getting off topic.
You get the point.
We're the worst.
Actually goes to Sharon D's quandary. There's a weirdness in the mechanization and the advancement and the militarization and not being on the prairie in survivaling. So there's tension between this and that. Survivalism. It's a word.
Survivaling.
Look it up. You'll see my picture next to it.
I'm playing that in Scrabble.
Survivaling.
Yeah, survivaraling. Yeah, my picture will be there and it says the act of not surviving. the act of live action role playing surviving. My picture, my beard. Like a
it's
hipster.
time to cosplay as a person who has their shit together.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Now I have to beep that out.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. It's fine. So much work this episode. Kidding. Hey, you got it.
You're done.
I think we're done. I think we're done.
You're done.
Hey, I'm done. Cue at this point the screensaver comes on, the pipe screensaver. We're done.
And Dave knows what it's called because he's a nerd.
3D pipes, yeah. Because I have desperately wanted the After Dark screensaver pack that cost money. I think it was $45 for the full 3-pack.
The next episode is rated TVMA with the letters L, S, and V.
Language.
And let me just
sexual suggestions
and violence.
Mm-hmm.
Violence. What did I just say? Sexual suggestions?
Sexual situations.
Survivaloring sexual situations. A book by David Cameo.
Oh my
I'm so tongue-tied right now. Okay. Let's tie a yellow ribbon
Definitely
around the old
After
oak
Dark.
tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said.
All right, well, that's why I said it. We can end it here and we can tag on our intros and outros. We love doing those things. I'm not doing it now,
That's fine.
even though I really want to.
No.
I really want to,
Don't
but I
you
won't.
dare.
It's such a treat because I get to do little things that make people laugh during it. Or you guys try to make me laugh. But I am a stone. I'm a rock.
You're a robot.
Amen.
You're a Roomba.
They're about the same height.
Because he's so short.
But I'm an earlier on Roomba because they're not thin. All right. Well, everybody each will say who they are. So I don't know. Because otherwise people are just going to go, hey, Bridget.
He just points.
Now you go.
All right. I'm just going to go by what's on the screen. So me, Takira, Rachel, Jill, Sharon D, Bridget. Because I'm looking up like this. So okay, ready? So
Aren't you always looking up?
just gonna stop recording now. Thank you for listening to the collaboration between The Ones Who Live, a TWD podcast, and Squawking Dead. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was such a pleasure to break down yet another episode with Takira, who sat in on many episodes of Squawking Dead, primarily The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, and many episodes of The Walking Dead Dead City. And it was a real treat to get Jill's takes on this particular episode, referencing old episodes of The Walking Dead. I really hope we get to do this again. Both Kirsten and Sarah Beth have joined in on episodes of Squawking Dead as well. You can head over to our podcast, Squawking Dead, to listen to those episodes. And if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and subscribe to either or both The Ones Who Live, a TWD podcast's YouTube channel, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you prefer. I've been your narrator, David Cameo. You were joined by Takira Lawrence, Jill Roby, Cosmomon09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget. ko-fi.com/PunkyBrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. And watch out for another episode of The Ones Who Live, a TWD podcast podcast.